Last time on The Cellcast.
The animated series.
Blah.
Blah.
Blah. Blah.
The machines he's invented.
Yeah.
Audacity. Let's say that.
Audible's a different thing entirely.
Yeah, completely different. It
right.
has to do with audio.
Why is it when I typed in the Lone Ranger, it went to Airheads?
Blah.
So join us next time when... Cartoons. The Animated Frontier. These are the voyages of the Cellcast podcast. Its continuing mission to explore strange new cartoons, to seek out new animation styles and new creative storytelling methods, to boldly go where so few ever go again.
Wrong? Okay. This progress is a part of Christian Reek Central Network. Wrong.
Hey, Scoop. What are you doing, man?
I don't know. I'm supposed to be reading an ad.
All right, hold on. Give me it.
Okay.
All right. This podcast is part of the Christian Geek Central Network at ChristianGeekCentral.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast.
The animated series.
Joining me today is a man who thought boo was actually a cheer, Jacob.
Boo to you too. Why, thank you. I'd like to introduce our co-host, a man who just wants everybody to like him. Welcome, Drew.
Doesn't everybody want people to like them?
Exactly.
Today, of course, we are talking about the Season 1, Episode 2, Rapunzel's Enemy.
Dum dum dum.
It aired on March 31st, 2017, was directed by Steven Sandoval and written by Kay Matilla, and it guest stars Richard Kind as Uncle Monty. If you ever saw the sitcom back in the 90s, Spin City, he played the character of Paul Lassiter, and in the movie Inside Out, he played Bing Bong, your imaginary friend.
Yeah.
So, getting into the summary of this episode. During the annual Gopher Festival, Rapunzel is booed by a man in the crowd when she shows her new emblem to the people of Corona. After finding out that the person who booed her is an elderly shopkeeper whom everyone loves, Rapunzel is determined to uncover the reason for Uncle Monty's disapproval of her, even if it means disguising herself. Eventually, she inspires Monty to participate in the Gopher Festival tournament, but during the race, she has to rescue him from a waterfall, blowing her disguise. Monty explains that he booed her because he doesn't like all the changes in the kingdom that has occurred since her return. The two remain enemies, but respect each other. Monty wins the race, and Rapunzel boos him as a sign of their special relationship. At his sweets shop, Monty looks very proudly at his trophy, realizing he wouldn't have won if Rapunzel hadn't helped him follow his dream. Going into the trivia for this, Monty's design was inspired by both Captain Kangaroo and Eric Goldberg, who was the animator of the genie in the movie Aladdin. And as another little interesting bit of trivia, this show technically takes place somewhere in Europe. Gophers are native to North America.
That was interesting.
So I am kind of curious how gophers got there in the first place to at least have 10 different races involving this, catching this gopher.
Yeah, what do they do? But they're like, oh, when you go to the new world, pick up these little things called gophers for us because we really need them for a certain special event. Thank you.
And here's the thing. Technically, if the gophers came over, they would then become an invasive species, destroying most of Europe. So that would be us thanking the Europeans for bringing us pigs and all the wild boars in this area.
That is true, but also we would have bacon.
You can get bacon.
I'm
just saying the pigs should not have been allowed to leave their pens. And let's face it, apparently all you have to do is accidentally give this rodent dimberries in order for them to go crazy cuckoo enough to where they almost are nigh uncatchable.
Flynn being Flynn, it's
the wrong one.
And messed everything up.
And admittedly, the names are so close together that I can understand why he got confused.
And they are a blueberry.
Yes. Anyway, getting into this episode.
Right.
As we already haven't. This is not my favorite episode we've watched so far.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, I like Richard Kind's performance as Uncle Monty.
Yeah.
But this is a weird episode.
Okay.
I get it, but I also don't get it. If
Right.
that makes any sense.
Right.
I mean, sure, I like the idea that there is the one guy who everyone likes, doesn't like her, solely because she's changed everything since she come back.
Right.
She changed the symbol for the Gopher Goodwill Festival.
Yeah.
She is a royal who goes around not wearing any shoes. I don't have anything wrong with that myself. Except when you're outside. It's like, that's the one thing I don't understand about her. How tough is her feet?
Apparently, like her hair, almost indestructible.
Yes, but that predates the show, because this is like this in the movie.
Yeah.
I understand why in her tower she wouldn't have it, but her feet must be, as we said, nigh indestructible, because she has to step on rocks sometimes.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to. Not to mention walking around the streets of Corona. Those rocks have to get hot with the sun beating down on them.
You would think so.
That's just my thoughts on the matter. Anyway, I get the idea that he just doesn't like her.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to boo her at that thing.
Yeah.
And to have something against her. And to, even as she's trying to get him to like her.
Right.
I can understand why he might be a little upset about the way she goes about this stuff. The one that gets me is when she's sitting there at the cafe and the carriage goes by and he just sticks his head out and goes, boo. It's like, you, sir, are rude. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like somebody, you keep your mouth shut and go past it, let them go. You don't just boo them to their face when they happen to be sitting somewhere at a cafe while you happen to be driving past.
And plus, she's the princess of Corona.
Yeah, it's not the wisest thing.
No, it's not. I mean, like, I understand everybody likes Uncle Monty, but I don't think Uncle Monty could get away with that technically.
I mean, I get it at the beginning, because that's a
Yeah.
crowd. You can hide in a crowd. I get that, but just coming right up to her face while she's just sitting there trying to eat or relax or something, and just sticking your head out the window and just shouting boo, or that's a step too far.
Just a little bit.
That's the kind of point that if it happened to me, I wouldn't have started worrying about him not liking me. I go, this guy's just a jerk. Maybe I'm just the only one that sees it because everyone else is in love with the dude. But anyway.
Okay, to your point, Rapunzel's been in a tower for 18 years.
Right.
This is like, what, 6 months?
Maybe
6 months to a year that she's acclimating to being around people. Doesn't, like, she even says in the episode, be like, I don't know what boo means.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what it means.
That part I like. It's just everyone in town loves this guy, and he likes everyone else in town but her.
Yeah.
And this is not her fault.
Right.
This is the king's fault because he's allowing all this change to happen.
Yeah. My thought on this is the fact that Monty's his reasoning behind not liking Rapunzel is kind of weak.
But in a lot of cases, when you just irrationally don't like somebody, the reasoning is weak.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
I have nothing wrong with him not liking her.
Yeah.
For the reasons he gives in the show.
Right.
Let's face it. How many of us last year were upset not because of the coronavirus hitting, but because of the changes it affected on our lives at that time? Just because a change, and let's face it, how many people get mad every presidential election, not because somebody won, although a lot of times that is what it is, but because, now we're not in power anymore and there's going to be lots of change. How many people get mad because people get attached to strange things, and he was attached to the way had been run in the town, or in the kingdom since who knows how long, and her return happened to cause a bunch of changes to occur.
Yeah.
Most of the changes were inconsequential in reality.
Yeah, but to Monty, it was...
Right. I mean...
It was upsetting.
In my mind, I'm still thinking back to Before Ever After.
Yeah.
Lady Kane being so... having an entire revenge plot on basically the same thing is a lot stronger than, I just don't like you changed everything.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's the same concept. It's like, you made all these changes happen because of you, Rapunzel. Mm-hmm. But in her case, it caused her to be essentially orphaned. Whereas this guy, I can't tell he was negatively affected in reality whatsoever.
Yeah, it was
by these changes. It's just, I don't like it. It's like, it's fine to not like it.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. We said earlier, the Gopher festivities, the Gopher festival, what have you. The fact that, of course, Eugene messes something up.
Who's surprised?
Yeah, and also it's the running theme of having Cass and Flynn or Eugene always butting heads. It's like most of the series, these two are butting heads beyond belief. And
It makes
it's
sense.
a good example of this. And it's Cass trying to prove herself. It's like her father's the captain of the guard. Later on, she wants to be this, and we'll get to that later. But it's Cass always wanting to prove herself. Like almost every other episode, she's trying to prove herself. And having be like, oh, I've been given this the privilege of watching over the gopher and tending to the gopher's needs. And of course, Eugene messes it up.
An odd job to give to the lady in waiting of the princess.
Yeah.
Who still needs someone to watch over her that understands the decorum of being a ruler.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same way, I can understand it story-wise, because you want other characters to be doing something else rather than be like watching over somebody.
Granted, I agree with you. And this being a story that primarily takes place in town, they're not going out elsewhere. I don't even think Max and the lady horse, whose name I can't think of, I don't think they're even in this episode.
No.
But I don't know, it just seems like it's just weird.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I enjoyed the episode. I mean, it was a good episode. It was a lot of fun. And I just laugh every time Eugene messes things up. I just love it. And I don't remember if there was any tie-ups, tie-ins, or tangled up in this episode. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure something from this episode will be kind of tied into something later.
Well, we do know just from when I looked it up that there's at least one other episode with Monty in it.
Yeah.
So that will at least come up, I'm assuming, before the end of season 1.
Right.
But I can't imagine what was introduced in this episode that would go forward.
Who knows?
But anyway, we'll see.
We'll see it when it gets there.
Yeah. Join us next time as we get into season 1, episode 3, Fitzherbert P.I.
This is going to be fun.
Come, Jacob. We must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
The same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast.
Oh, boy.
So where can they find you, Jacob?
You can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron, also on Facebook at Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where I try to draw each and every day. I don't get to it as often as I like, but join me there. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Jacob B. Heron, on Twitter at Jacob Heron, and Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. So where can they find you, Drew?
You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759, Facebook as Drew Dodgen, my Facebook page where you can see pictures I've taken at Drew's Photo Bin. You can also follow me on Twitter at GGeorge759.
You can email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter at cast_cell.
You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/thecellcastgaming.
You can also follow us on YouTube at Cellcast,
Listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts,
Google Play Podcasts,
Stitcher,
Spotify,
and your favorite podcast directory.
You can also listen to us on the Movie of the Week podcast with Jim Heron, where we talk about live-action movies. And remember, Cell is a single L.